What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? It is your girl, Shanice, and I am here today with season 2, episode 4, Life After Trauma podcast. And today we're talking about what are you watering? What are you watering? Now, later on in this month, I am going to do a series about rebuilding your life in your finances and rebuilding your life in your finances. And I'm also talk about, in that area because I really believe that this is Life After Trauma podcast, right? So in order for you to become who God have called you to be, you want to rebuild yourself. And I don't want to lose sight of that because that's what the whole point of this podcast was about. So this will probably be my last teaching podcast when it comes to healing, and the episodes going forward from there will be about tips of you rebuilding your life, rebuilding your confidence, rebuilding your sight, rebuilding your relationships, rebuilding your health, rebuilding your wealth. You know what I'm saying? Just rebuilding your finances. I want to have guests. I'm gonna start having guests as well to talk about that. But I definitely want to give you tips on and strategies on how to rebuild your life and how I have been rebuilding my life for the past 5 years. I want to say I've been rebuilding my life the past 2 years, but I want to say the first 6 years, it was strictly healing, y'all. And I'm still healing. I still have not arrived. I'm still healing for different parts of my soul, different events that happened to me or different words that was spoken over me, which is this month we're talking about what are you watering? We all know that April showers bring May flowers, right? So I want to talk about what are you watering, right? What mindsets are you watering? What habits are you watering? But today I want to talk about what insecurities are you watering. Now, trauma is one of those type of things that that happen kind of happened to you, right? But when it happened to you, it created a image, or it created a mindset, it created an identity of you that was not necessarily who you were, right? When trauma came and it happened to you, trauma came to do a couple of things: to steal from you, right? Trauma is one of those things that we all going to go through. I don't know a person that's not going to go through some type of trauma in their life, whether it's something traumatic like a rape, whether it's something, you know what I'm saying, a car accident, or you losing a parent. You're going to have some type of trauma inside your life. But when you have dealt with trauma in your childhood, when you have dealt with trauma when you was young, when you was in development, when your identity was developing, when your confidence was developing, when your security mechanisms was developing, you end up dealt with trauma. And trauma, insecurity is not who you are, but it's about what happened to you, right? So when that trauma happened to you, it created an insecurity in you. But so I noticed that the insecurity always and it comes from the very thing that God called you to do, right? Like for me, I was called like a shrieking violent. Like I have always had wisdom about myself, right? I have always been a witty girl. Ever since I was younger, I remember my friends that acted like they liked me, but they was secretly jealous of me. They would call me for advice in relationships, and when I got older, they would call me for advice in their parenting, and it was always either relationships or parenting. But this is the thing: those two areas I struggled in. I struggled in relationships. I struggled in having confidence in my parenting. I was insecure or lack of security in those areas, right? So I want to give you tips on how I am rebuilding my identity, embracing my identity, right? I had to go through a process. First, I had to discover who I was, right? Once I discovered who I was, I went through a phase of imposter syndrome. Sometimes I still have little imposter syndrome sometimes, but then now I'm in a phase that I am embracing and accepting my authentic self and being okay with being who I am, no matter who's around and who's looking. But I was a shrinking violent. And a shrinking violet is someone that shrink back in rooms. That is a part of insecurity that you water. A shrinking violet is someone that shrink back in rooms when you was actually called to lead and rule in. And so imagine being in a room. God called you to be an answer in that room, but because you are insecure of being that solution to that problem in that season, instead of you owning owning in and zoning in and walking with power in the area, you're shrinking back because you're afraid that you will not be accepted, right? And I talked about that last month when I talked about, you know what I'm saying, me choosing me, or when I talked about accepting who you are no matter who's there, right? The very parts of me that was not accepted is the very parts of me that God called me to do. Like, one part that was not accepted in my family is when I talked about my wisdom, how I do things that other people did not know, and they shot me down. So when I knew something, I shrunk back and I acted like I did not know it, but I knew it, because I knew if I let my light shine in this area and I showed up powerful in this area, that this may trigger the person I love that I don't want to trigger. So a lot of times my depression was connected to the things I was suppressing. I was suppressing parts of me, and I was being little in rooms that I was called to be big in. And if you're not careful, you will begin to continue to water this insecurity when God have called you to show up boldly in these rooms. Another thing I shrink back in is my content. Not showing up and being all that I know what I can do and be in my content and building and having workshops, or posting my content, posting, you know what I'm saying, my classes, my workshops, when I know I'm the solution to the problem. And I'm not saying it in a cocky way. I'm saying it because I know God have shown me I was. And early this week, as I was teaching about this week, I opened up my Bible and I landed on um what's his name? Gideon. I landed on Gideon. And I never land on Gideon. Like, I just never, how can I put it? I never be like one of those type of people that, they open a book or they Bible, like, okay, where are you gonna lead me? And they open it like, oh, I had a, you know what I'm saying? I'm not one of those type of people. I used to when I was younger in the Lord. I'm a little older, but I still got some growing to do, right? I'm a teenager in the Lord. Um but when I was a babe in the Lord, like, I used to open up the Bible like, oh, I opened up a Bible and I had a counter. This was not one of those type of situations. It was kind of like one of those, I was having one of those days. God knew I was having one of those days. God knew I was doing a podcast. I was talking about water insecurities this week. And I opened it up, and one of the things that I realized with the story of Gideon, I have read the story of Gideon before for other reasons. That's why they say the word is living. It's sharper than a two-edged sword, piercing to bone and marrow, because the word is living, right? The last time I read this is when I was asking God about, should I still be with my kid's father, or should I walk away from him? And that was in that season. Now in this season, God was showing me how Gideon was afraid to walk and do what God called. God gave him instructions to do something. Gideon did not feel qualified. He asked God for 3 confirmations. God never got angry with him. He kept giving him confirmations. But one of the things that shifted after Gideon knew that he was called, and he kind of accepted that he was called, I noticed that Gideon, he started moving with a confidence that only God can give. Gideon started, as he was asking people, it says in the Bible, as Gideon was going to kill the people that God was telling him to kill, he went to ask people for food. And everybody that denied him, he told him, I'm going to come back and kill you. But the thing that got me, he said, after I get this victory. He was so confident that Gideon knew he was going to get this victory. But when I read it in chapter 6, Gideon was scared. Gideon was scared, y'all. Gideon was frightened. Gideon did not want to he didn't want to do it. Gideon didn't want to do it. Gideon was frightened, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, and he became confident after God gave him the 3 confirmations. God was patient with him. He gave him the 3 confirmations. And as he moved forth to kill him, he became fearful, insecure, to confident that he was going to win, because God told him he was going to win. Now, mind you, Gideon started off with 10,000 people at first. So when Gideon went to fight, he was now going to fight with 300 people. But God not only told him he was going to win, he sent prophets to let Gideon know that he was going to win. So Gideon went from being insecure in the area that God called him in to having this dominion and this power and start telling people, after I get this victory, I'm coming back to kill you. After I get this victory. He was so persuaded that his God was going to give him that victory. What am I saying here? Okay, Shanice, how do I get to this point that I can begin to walk in this type of confidence? Stop shrinking back. Stop watering the shrinking violet. Stop watering that. When you know you are the answer to something, you know you got to answer to it, show up and say it. Even if they don't accept it, it's okay that they don't accept it. But you shrinking back, it's not doing nothing but continue to feed the thing that you need to let go of. So you probably thinking, okay, Shanice, how do I know I'm watering insecurities? Now, everybody got an insecurity. I don't know a person that don't have some type of insecurity or have some type of complex about their self that they need to overcome. You may be someone that here's 5 ways you constantly compare yourself to other people. You on social media comparing your path to somebody else. What are you comparing your path to somebody else for? And God did not call you for their path. I had to get over that too. Because you don't know what they went through to get to what they got, for one. And for two, you don't know how hard they have to fight for the things that they have. Okay? And you're watering that seed, I'm not enough, when you're comparing yourself to other people. And you are enough. And you have value. But for me, when I was in my relationship, and I realized that when I shrunk back and I didn't, the reason why I shrunk back around certain people, when I knew of the solution to the problem, I allowed people to devalue my voice and devalue my opinions and devalue my, not my opinions, but my wisdom. And I shrunk back because I knew they was going to devalue it. So I'm like, why say anything? And that made me show up in the world like that when the whole time the people in the world actually wanted what I had. Why they always call me and ask me for advice. Because they saw the wisdom that I didn't have, that I didn't know I had. Okay? The next one, you self-sabotage opportunities that align with your growth. This is a big one that I'm overcoming. I downplay my gifts. I procrastinate with showing up. I reject good things that happen to me. I think and I create scenarios in my mind that something bad is going to happen because I don't believe that I am worthy of success. That is a big one that I'm that I'm overcoming right now. I overthink and I overanalyze everything. I rehearse what could go wrong before it can even go right. God, y'all, that is a form of insecurity. Now imagine Gideon, right? Imagine if Gideon heard God and Gideon said, "Oh, I can't step forward. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that." And he start overthinking, right? Right? So what happens? What's going to happen to you once you stop overthinking? The next one, number 4, you shrink in places. We talked about that. You shrink in places. So what places do you shrink in that you need to show up as a lead? You accept jobs. This is a big one. Do you know how many people, have you ever heard that saying that they be the smartest people that have the most lowest jobs? Why do you think that is? Because inside they do not believe that they're worthy of anything beyond what they work. Because they do not know their worth. They don't know their worth. So if you are someone, right, and you are walking and you're watering these insecurities, you're shrinking back, you're overthinking, you're self-sabotaging. If you're someone doing all these things, I want you to start rebuilding your thought patterns about yourself. Right? You have a thought pattern that you have told about yourself over and over again that you're now believing. Many insecure women don't trust yourself because of past mistakes or because, for me, I'm going to say for me, and this is a part of my soul that I need God to heal, is I play small because I feel like if I play big, then the people that wanted, that the people around me would not accept me because they could not handle the big me. So I shrunk on purpose to make them feel bigger or superior than me, when in actuality, God called me to stand out, right? You got to start trusting yourself again. You got to start rebuilding that trust with that inner voice, with your inner GPS. So one of the things I told you, like I told you before, God gave me this wisdom, right? This inner wisdom that I would just know different things. I did not know how I knew different things, but I knew. And every time I did not listen to that inner voice that was telling me to do that thing that I knew that inner voice was telling me to do, I would sabotage myself and I would end up being in a worse state than what I was already in. The next one, I want you to start becoming comfortable with your inner voice, with that God voice, that GPS, that inner God's positioning system. I want you to start becoming comfortable with that, right? I want you to begin to rewire your mind and to cast down any image that is not like, if you see yourself as small, as not abundant. I want you to ask God to heal that part of your soul, because a part of you do not feel qualified enough. And I want you to start using declarations rooted in scriptures and repeat them out loud every single day. I want you to use I am, I have, I can, I will. I can run a six-figure business. I will make six figures this month. I am abundant enough to make six figures, and I have six figures every single month. Because what you're doing is you're retraining your brain that you can, I have, I will, and I am. Okay, you are enough. You are equipped. You are empowered. This is how you're going to start rebuilding that, so you can start walking in what God has called you to walk in. Right? Insecurity. Insecurity often stems from a false identity shaped by trauma, rejection, or people pleasing. If you are somebody that had people pleasing, let me tell you something that is rooted in rejection. And in order for you to walk away from people pleasing, you have to understand that people pleasing shows up with overextending. When you find yourself overextended, it is time for you to understand that you do not need to overextend yourself in order for you to be accepted in different rooms. If you have to overextend yourself, then that is not the place you need to be. You need to be comfortable who you are. And once you're comfortable who you are, you will stop trying to please other people. And I only saying that because it's the things that I am going through right now, and I'm rebuilding that inner confidence so I can walk boldly and know that whatever God called me to call me to, I got the victory in it, baby. I might have started off like Gideon, not sure, asking for confirmations, but baby, I decree and declare, and whoever listening to this right here, that you're going to begin to rebuild a confidence like no other, that you're going to be confident that your God is with you, that you will be confident He's walking with you. The Bible, Isaiah 41:10 states, do not be afraid, I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, and I will hold you with your righteous right hand. I decree and declare that this will be your portion, and you will believe it. And I'm saying it for myself, that I will be so confident in that scripture that I don't care what devil in hell try to come talk me out of it, baby, I'm doing it. No more hesitation. In Jesus' name. Thank you so much for watching, and I want you guys to come back and stay tuned for next week, and come back next week because we're going to see what else are we watering. So in the month of May, we can begin to bloom. See you guys.